Hello, in this video I'm going to tell you what can go wrong with a Jaguar X Type. I'm also going to tell you some of the other things that can go wrong and things that I expect to go wrong in the future. If you've had any problems with your Jaguar X Type, leave them down below. Maybe we can turn this video into a sort of source of kind of problem solving for people with Jaguar X Types. So I own a 2007 2-litre diesel. I've owned it for 3 years now. When I bought it, it had done 50-something thousand miles. It's now done nearly 100,000 miles. Quite a few things have gone wrong in that time. When I first got in the car and reversed, there was a deathly rattle. It really sounded like the car was going to fall apart. Now, I'm personally of the opinion that car dealerships aren't really keen to spend money, so I kind of didn't mention it. And I think, in retrospect, they probably wouldn't have done anything about it anyway. But basically, what was wrong with the car was the tensioner and pulley had sort of loosened and weakened over time, and they were creating this like real rattle. Now, this is a common thing on diesel X types. It's a common thing actually on all diesel cars. Basically, they vibrate a lot more than people expect, and things kind of just rattle and weaken. But Jaguar do actually sell an uprated tensioner and pulley kit, which I got done at the Jaguar garage for about £400. So the symptoms of this are just basically, if you're reversing and you're not putting any gas on, you will be slightly concerned that your car is going to fall apart. Also, within a year of owning the car, I noticed that if I started the car warm, so I sort of did a journey, turned the car off, maybe I went to a shop, when I came back into the car and turned it on, there would be a significant chance of the car really struggling to start. What I mean is you'd go to start it and it would be like it was stalling or misfiring or something, and it would make a horrible noise when you tried to start it. Well, apparently there's some kind of timing thing in the car that's rectified by an ECU flash. So I took my car to a sort of independent Jaguar specialist. I paid about £50. They reflashed the firmware on the car, which apparently resets this sort of timer to do with the number of revs. So there's like a total number of revs the car reaches. It then tries to automatically adjust the timing of something, and it can cause this hot start problem. Now, the exhaust gas recirculation system is the bane of a lot of people who own diesel cars. Basically, this is a way of reducing cars' diesel emissions by having the exhaust gas recirculate in the car, as the name suggests. The problem is, of course, that that's then putting a load of soot and impurities into your car's engine, which can lead to sort of problems. And one of the things in the exhaust gas recirculation system are these pipes that take the exhaust gas, really hot, sooty exhaust. Now, I've had the exhaust, two separate EGR hoses split on my car, which creates a leak in the sort of turbo system. And the symptom of this is you put your foot down and it sounds like a really big fan that they're blowing in your face. You'll put your foot down, the car really won't do much, but you get this whooshing sound, basically, is the best way to describe it. Cheap repair, but I've had two EGR hoses split in this way, which is quite frustrating, but I'm hoping that now they're done, they won't split again. So those faults really happened within the first sort of year of owning the car, and they probably needed doing when I bought the car. But there's been a couple more sort of serious faults that have developed in the last year, so between sort of 80 and 100,000 miles. The first is the clutch and flywheel that needed replacing, which cost me about £1,500, I believe, because you can't really do one without the other, or there's not really much point in doing one without the other, given that it's so much work. So arguably, I didn't need to replace my clutch, but basically when I was in really quiet, concretey, echoey car parks, when I put my foot on the clutch, there was a squealing sound, which I think is the clutch release bearing. I think it could be the other one. I'm not a mechanic. Put my foot down, squealing sound, clutch release bearing. How long do you leave it for? I mean, I found it quite embarrassing to be squealing while I was sort of driving around, especially when your Jaguar was getting on a bit. So I went to get this done, and you can't just have the bearings replaced, so you've got to have everything done. And at least now I know that the clutch is new and nothing's going to go wrong with it for probably another 100,000 miles. A few months after the clutch, I had an air aspirator problem, which sounds horrendous, but actually it was really quite straightforward. So basically I got in the car shortly after Christmas, and there was a noise coming from the dashboard like somebody sticking a piece of paper or card inside a fan. It was a really blood-curdling sound. So basically there's a little fan in the dashboard behind a little grill near the steering wheel, which sucks in air and measures the ambient air temperature, and it's to do with the air conditioning and temperature regulation in the car. Over time this gets full of lint and dust and things, and eventually the little fan won't go round properly. So I bought a replacement, a genuine Jaguar replacement from a Jaguar dealership, and I had to remove the radio to fit it, and it took me a good hour to sort of get it in place. I mean, it was really quite tricky, but I replaced it and I haven't had any problems with that noise since. The most recent big repair that I've had was probably about 6 months ago. I was in a queue for a long time and I almost stalled my car. And I don't think it was the cause. I think it was actually a symptom of what happened next. So when I turned the car back on, I got an engine management warning light. And the car was in limp mode. I kind of isolated that it was something to do with the turbo. So I went and got like a fuel system cleaner thing, stuck that in. Light didn't come on for a week, and then it came on again. Basically, the turbocharger actuator, so this is some kind of like moving arm thing, mechanical thing in the turbo, sticks. And apparently this is really common. So usually this will activate when you start the car because it has a sort of diagnostic thing where it moves this little actuator, but sometimes it's stuck. So you'll turn the car on and you'll just get the engine management warning light, which you won't be able to disengage until you turn off the car a few times. I got a reconditioned turbo, which was I think hundreds and hundreds of pounds cheaper than the genuine Jaguar part, and the independent Jaguar specialist I went to said to me that, you know, really there is no difference. And I looked it up, and actually a lot of these reconditioned parts can be as good, if not better, than the genuine thing. Unfortunately, you can't just change the little actuator arm thing. You have to have the whole turbo replaced, and I think, to be honest, it gets full of soot and stuff, and, you know, it probably is for the best. So in addition to these potentially X-Type specific things that have gone wrong, obviously I've had the usual car maintenance things like tyres, brakes, and recently shock absorbers as well. Every year I have all filters changed in the car and an oil change. I personally don't believe in the sort of Jaguar dealership servicing. Maybe if I had a brand new car, I might consider it. But I kind of think, you know, you're paying for them to sort of look at the wheels and say, oh yeah, there are 4 wheels, tick, you know. I don't really like those dealership services. I also put V-Power diesel in the car, which I think is really important for keeping the fuel system clean and the injectors clean. I also personally think it makes the car run quieter, run more smoothly, and more responsive for acceleration. So what else can go wrong with an X-Type? Well, I mean, really we're talking about diesels, because the diesel engines last longer, so you really get more of a chance to kind of see the potential problems that can arise with a diesel versus a petrol car. So firstly, the fuel system can fail, and specifically this is the injectors. So one injector will fail, and then, you know, then the others will follow. And the problem is, because of the kind of nature of that problem, it's not really worth just replacing one injector, because when the other injectors fail, they will damage the brand new one. So you're kind of just best to replace the whole system, including the fuel pump, because the fuel pump could potentially be pumping crap around the car. Now that's a very expensive repair. I think we're talking again about $1,500. And apparently the symptoms of that are you'll get a warning light, and, you know, poor performance, and probably a lot of black smoke coming out of the back of your car. So that's worth looking for. Now I use V-Power, as I said, and I think that will help me. I think that'll hopefully keep my injectors clean. So they also said they wouldn't actually even attempt that repair before checking one more thing, and that is the sills on the car. So at the bottom of the car there's a sort of plastic valance which is covering the metal sills of the car. Now they're not made of a proper rust-proof material, and apparently, especially in the earlier Jaguar X Types, you can take that plastic sill off and find that the sills have just completely corroded away, which structurally makes the car unsafe, and it's a lot of work to weld on new sills to, you know, make the car roadworthy. Now, I think this is more of a problem with pre-2005 Jaguar X Types, because the car is kind of slightly pointing towards the front, so water tended to collect in, like, run down the A-frame or something and collect in the car because there wasn't sufficient drainage in these pre-2005 X Types. And then they kind of put a little hole in the bottom, drainage holes, and it's less of a problem now. But it would still rust, so it's something that, you know, you should get checked. So apart from the things that have gone wrong and the expenses, which I kind of expected, you know, this car has really been my favourite car to date. I think it's a lovely car, and if you're considering getting a Jaguar X Type, just bear these things in mind. Anyway, thanks for watching, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I shall see you next time for another video.